An angel visited me one night and told me truth is pain. Truth. Always just
Dogman, Sasquatch, Rake, Flat Earth, Chemtrails, the Vril Lizards, 9/11, Conspiracy, really believe you lied to me? Really believe you lied to us? You lied to us. Rebel Angel Radio. Truth is pain. It's about to hurt. A lot. Enjoy. Thank you for tuning in to Rebel Angel Radio. If you have an encounter story, you want to talk, you want to be on the radio, or just send me a message, hit me up at rebelangelradio@gmail.com. It's rebelangelradio@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. We'll get back to you and we'll see if you want to be on the show. If so, we'll set up a time. If not, we can just chat, or you can tell me a story, or I can tell it for you if you feel comfortable that way. Either way, I'd love to hear from you guys. We need to spread the truth. Nothing but love up in here, guys. Rebel Angel Radio. Truth is pain, and it's about to hurt a lot. A few times. Other than that, growing up, till I was, what do I think here? The next experience I had, I guess I was about 15 or 16 years old. It was when I first moved to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And my grandfather said, "Hey."
Hello everybody and welcome to Rebel Angel Radio. I apologize for the break we have taken in our episodes. I did have some computer problems, and unfortunately I am poverty poor and have to wait for my petty check to come in to fix the problems, but I did get them done, and I will be bringing back everybody's new favorite show, Rebel Angel Radio. So today we're gonna go right to the fun stuff. While I was on this break and didn't have my computer running, I did line up some great guests, some stuff about a woman lives across the street I met. I know her husband, he moved here a year ago, and she has some very, very intense poltergeist experience with like demonic activity. Oh, it's very cool. We're going to bring her on and talk about it, and I've got another woman who had a UFO abductions her whole life, and oh, it's great. You're going to love some of these episodes. But today we're just going to roll right into some of these encounters. First off, I'm going to start with my story. About a week ago, I went for a midnight hike about 7 miles down a road near my home where I heard there are dogmen. This isn't far from where I had the experience with what could have been a dogman or a Bigfoot. I'm not sure. I'm guessing it was a Bigfoot by the grunts. But I was coming up this hill. It was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. I was about 3 miles into it. I had about 3-4 miles left to get to my house. And it was pitch black. There's no street lights. It's kind of a back road. And I'm hearing something following me. Like it was walking as I was walking. And I kept hearing these really low growls. Like, whoa. It sounded like a big dog or like, I was like, what is this? And then it wasn't real close to me. It was probably about 100 yards away. I could hear it. But the growl was so loud that I could almost feel it. And we did approach a couple houses. They were separated like farms. They were like separated by a mile or so. And right when I got about a mile away from one house, the dog at this place just started going nuts. And I know it wasn't me that was getting them crazy, because I wasn't even close enough for them to hear me or see me or smell me. So something was over there walking and got their attention, and they went crazy. So I'm not saying that it was a cryptid of any sort, but there definitely was something creepy following me. There are coyotes around here, but they are not what was making this sound. I actually go out and call the coyotes sometimes just for fun. I go out there and yell. And they stay mostly by the train tracks over here. You can hear them yelping once in a while. But this was something different. I have seen a giant wolf around here. I don't know where it came from and why it's by itself. My parents have seen it, like some neighbors have seen it. It just kind of like stands in the field as you walk by and stares at you. Real big one. So I don't know, maybe it was him or what it was, but it was absolutely freaking intense. I'll tell you that. Honestly, what I did was I had a lighter with me, and I started burning paper out of a bag I had as I walked down for light, and just try to scare off anything with fire. I was that I was that stressed. I had to do something. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a weapon with me. I really didn't think anything was going to happen. It was pretty intense. I'm convinced that there are some kind of cryptids. Maybe I've heard there are dogmen. People have seen them around here. Like I said, I had my Bigfoot experience not too far from here. We have an escarpment, which is kind of like a small range of mountains that runs through here that is honeycombed with caves, and I'm pretty sure that they're living in them and going underground and coming out at night. So I'm gonna do like an expedition, and I'm gonna get some equipment when I can afford it, and I'm gonna prove that these things are there to everybody. Because we have like 25 pets missing this year right in this area. I mean, they're just getting taken, man. So I know they're here. I'm gonna show them. I just need like a good camera or something to film them with, like that, or some night vision or something. I don't know what would be the best approach. I'm not really a monster hunter. I'd like to be. I think that's the road I'm gonna have to take now, because I'm getting more interested in this, because I've had 2 to 3 like pretty intense encounters now around here. I've never been hurt, but I was scared all the time. Definitely freaky. So anyway, enough about my craziness. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the stars. We were talking about Donald Trump's Space Force and all this stuff happening, and there really is something going on. I don't know if it's our government or if it's like UFOs, but if you go outside on a clear night and you look at the stars, you'll see the constellations, and you'll see the occasional satellite or whatever they are that go across the sky real slow. Sometimes they blink. But you'll also see these stars that move around. They'll do like right angle turns. They'll like hit lights at each other, and they're clearly some kind of craft way up there, or maybe an entity, like a plasma entity. I don't know. Very, very creepy. Very interesting to watch. I know they're there. People just don't go outside to look. Just spend 2 hours out of your whole life. Go out there and watch. You'll see them. They're there. Also, one time, what I saw was a triangle. Like it was. I've told the story about the triangle I saw in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, but this one was here. It was 3 lights. They were flying over by the train tracks. They were probably only about like 5,000 feet in the air. They weren't high, and all of a sudden, 2 of the lights, like the front and the back left light, went off, and the back right light turned into what looked like an airplane. An airplane at like 50,000 feet, like way up in the air. All it was the corner of a triangle imitating a plane way up in the sky. So this triangle's flying with this little light, and it makes it look like there's like a plane way up in the sky. And I'm like, oh my god, it's an illusion. Like these things are around. So I have a feeling that there's more of these triangles and stuff that are fooling us, and I think there are other things too. I think our technology is way beyond what people think it is. Like the stuff we see on TV is not what we have. The wars we're fighting, I don't believe are even really, we're not trying to win. If we were, we'd be using this technology and just taking over. We're not doing anything. So I have a feeling that it's all just a big distraction. It's all money. It's just control, sacrifice, whatever. But the stuff we have now is absolutely like way beyond that. Way beyond that. I heard a story on the confessionals. This Tony Merkel had this guy on, and he was talking about how he was in the military, and he found an airplane, and the language in it was Enochian or whatever. an angelic language. There's supposed to be two angelic languages. There's Enochian, and it's like the higher level and the lower level. Which brings me to the point that I believe that our whole world is basically vibrations and frequencies. Down to the molecular level, we are 98% nothing. It's just matter, just like particles and vibrations. So I think that there's there's entities that live on a lower vibration, like an ultra low frequency scale, and then there's entities that live on a higher frequency scale. And I think that's where you get your angels of light, like your plasma entities. The high frequencies are like light frequencies, and the low frequencies are almost like a vibrational or a sound that are your demonic entities, for lack of a better word. That is kind of what I wanted to lean into with this Sasquatch subject. We talk about Sasquatch a lot. Everybody does. Everybody says they're supernatural, or they're apes, or they have powers that we don't know about, or they're aliens. I'm starting to think maybe that they are just a very, very old species, probably from back when the sky was scarred with the Saturnian sun, back in the purple haze days, when it was like Saturn, Mars, and Tiamat, or some say Venus, in alignment, and that was our atmosphere was thicker, and we had giant people, and we'll get into that one other day. But anyway, I think they're from a time past, and that was a time when we had a megafauna, saber-toothed tigers, and short-nosed bears, or whatever they're called, the giant short-nosed bear, short-faced bear. There was so many, the woolly rhino, the mastodon, the mammoth. All these creatures were gigantic mammals that were probably extremely intelligent, very large. That's why I think Sasquatch is probably a remnant of one of those that managed to survive. Maybe because its ability to do things with its hands, like us, maybe it made it easier for them to survive. Or maybe they're smarter. I don't know, but I believe back in that time that that infrasound was a much more commonly used thing. I think everybody has some sort of infrasound. If you look at any of the megafauna now, you look at the tiger, the lion, the whales, the rhinos, anything now, they use infrasound. Elephants, they all use vibrations and sound. And I think that Bigfoot, or at least the ones that everybody's seeing kind of disappear and do weird things, I think they are using it also, but I think maybe they have mastered it. I've heard that they have 4 vocal cords that gives them the ability to make a lot of sounds, or many different sounds at once. I think it's possible that they've actually honed their infrasound into weapons or defenses, and I wonder if they can actually hit you with the right vibration to make them look invisible, block your frequency so you can't see them, or the right frequency to create some kind of illusion that you see, or some entity, or some light. They actually can either maybe they're making you see it, or maybe they're bringing it by causing that vibration, which allows the entity to enter through the frequency, if you know what I'm saying. He's putting out 720 hertz ultra low frequency. Let's just use that as an example, and that gives the lower base entity, we'll say a demon, for instance, the ability to present itself through that frequency. You can now see it as long as that vibration happens. So I'm starting to think that they have mastered these frequencies and are using them to do certain things that we don't understand yet, and it is probably a remnant of ancient times. I bet that dogmen probably have the same kind of ability, or at least something to that nature. But I think that certain types of Sasquatch have are geniuses with it. They've just mastered it and they know how to use it for whatever. I think some of them are very, very intelligent. If you take a snare drum and you hit it with a vibration, you'll see geometry, sacred geometry. The shapes show up at different hertz as long as it's in tune and the harmony's there. You'll see crazy patterns and insane things. And you can see them people like melt rocks with vibration, and this is all stuff that's ancient technology. The ancient days of our world was not like an electric world; it was a frequency world. All their weapons, all their technology, all their communications were done via frequency and energy from the air. It was a time when nature was respected more. Our world was approached in a different manner. It wasn't the way it is now, and their abilities and the things they do, they look like magic to us now, but are very, very simple. We just have never learned them. We don't know anything about it. They're forgotten. It's like we had a language once and don't remember it. But if we relearn that language, we'd get a lot of power. We'd learn a lot of things. We'd learn the secrets of the pyramids, how they made these blocks cut so perfectly. It's all vibrations. I mean, it's there. Look at the Battle of Jericho with Joshua. They say he took down a wall by having everybody blow a horn. I mean, yeah, it's a story, but the truth is that was probably an ancient weapon. It was probably like a vibrational weapon, a frequency that loosened the wall up, or it just brought it down, or turned it to liquid, or who knows. But the technology's there. People are starting to figure it out. And I think that these creatures are, like I said, a remnant of that time when this was something that everybody used or had, or it was done kind of consistently. The megafauna all seem to carry it still. If you look at whales or dolphins, they all mastered this to a degree in their environment. They use it for communications and hunting. Why wouldn't the megafauna use it now? And if something with the brain of a Sasquatch that pound for pound may be smarter than us, it's very possible that they have ideas on how to absolutely screw us up with these things. I mean, if you listen to the stories, people talk about getting sick from it. That's infrasound. If you're hit with infrasound, you'll get sick. You can lose consciousness. Your motor skills can fall apart. You can black out. See things like things that aren't there. This is real, and I think this is what people are experiencing. So I think that people need to pay more attention to this infrasound. Stop writing it off as like, it's real. It's more real than a lot of these other stories. Like people saying, well, they might be magical. Nah, there's a higher chance that this is just a frequency thing. And I think that's what we should pay attention to. And that's what I'm going to focus on for a while. And pay attention to that. And if I find anything good, I'm going to go online, do some research, and I'm going to bring some good material to you guys to take a look at, because I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not other factors that these things aren't, other aliens or whatever. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm just saying that the frequency thing does happen, and people should pay more attention to it. Anyway, let's get into some stories here, guys. We got some good ones today. There's no point sitting here rambling all night. It's good to be back, though. I missed you guys. Let's see what we got for you. So we got Vladimir out of Illinois. He's a Russian-born man who is now in his 40s, living there. And he said that one night he woke up and there was some kind of sound coming from outside, sounded like construction. And it was like 3:30 in the morning. So he was a little surprised. So he went out to take a look, and he saw some lights down by his trees. So he looks down by the lights and he sees 3 people. And he's like, what is going on? So there's a row of lights on his field. He's got some acreage. And he sees 3 people standing in front of it like it's a campfire. So he walks out in his boxers and says, hey. And they all turn around, and they're not human. They're probably about 4 feet tall. They have large round heads, blue skin, and look like your typical grays. And they start to walk towards him. He freaks out, runs back in the house, slams the door, goes into his room, grabs his rifle, comes back out, and they're gone. So that was his story, and he says that it was happened one time, and they never came back. He thought he was going to be abducted when they started walking towards him, or something worse. And he said he doesn't remember having any loss of time, so he doesn't think that anything happened, but you never know. That's the thing. You might have went and grabbed that rifle and they might have been gone, but so could you. Who knows? Anyway, Vladimir, great story. Thank you. Let's see what else we got here for you. We got Gary from Indiana, who said that he came out one morning about 6:30 in the morning. It was dark. It was in January, so it was cold. There was no snow that day, but he saw his trash getting rummaged through, and he thought it was a raccoon. And he ran out there with a broom to scare it off, and it was a small gremlin-like creature, all black with long floppy ears, large teeth, hands like a man, feet like a raccoon or something. It was kind of like a mix between a mammal and a human, and a big, like, kind of, he said it was almost like a dog face, but with like a human looking eyes. It was very, very creepy. He said it hissed at him and then ran away. It was only about 2 feet tall, he said, or 2 feet long. It didn't have a tail, no hair. It was like a dark black skin, almost kind of like the gremlin you see on TV, that color. And he said it just ran off and he never saw it again. He said it was terrifying. He thought that the thing might bite him. It had very large, sharp-looking teeth, and the scariest part, he said, was that it was just such a shock to see something that's not supposed to exist or never been seen before. He's 100% sure it wasn't a dog with mange. He said it was something different. He said this thing was not normal. Like a mutant or something. Anyway, very cool story, my friend. Very cool. Let's see. I have a cool story to tell you guys. I forgot all about this. This happened about 2 weeks ago. I was laying on my bed watching like Cobra Kai or some show, or I think it was Nightfall I was watching. Just kind of chilling, watching TV. And out from behind my TV, like a ball of fruit flies came out. It was probably 500 of these things. They were like a real tight-knit ball. And they came out like together, like in sync and like a ball. Came out to the middle of my room and then just spread out everywhere. They basically just covered my ceiling. They were just sticking to everything. They were all over the place. I was like, what the hell? I didn't have any fruit in here or any garbage. I'm real clean about things. I don't have like food sitting around. So I'm like, what is going on? So I got up and I went upstairs and grabbed some paper towel. I was going to come down here and start, mushing them and getting them out of here. And when I came down, they were gone. It was like there was no fruit flies at all. There was nothing. And I was like, what in the hell was that? Definitely paranormal, because the way the whole thing went down, like immediately I was thinking that it was something weird, like some kind of entity. But when they all hit the ceiling, I thought, well, I don't know. Maybe they got in here somehow. But when they all disappeared, I couldn't find them anywhere. I knew. So, very weird experience. Nothing else happened after that. It was just very strange. I figured I'd tell you guys. Anyway, let's talk about Jamie's experience at her house. Now, she lives in Ohio, and she said that down on her property there is a patch of woods. It's probably about an acre of woods, and then there's like an acre of farm, and then another acre of woods, and it just kind of bounces like that, woods to woods to woods. She said there's lots of deer and raccoons and stuff like that down there. No bears or anything that she knows of, but she did see one day a Sasquatch coming out of the woods. It looked like it was digging in the dirt out in front, right in front of the patch of woods, and when she saw it, it just turned around and looked right at her, like it knew she was there from, she said, about 200 yards away. She said it was very large. It had like a reddish or reddish brown hair. It turned around and looked at her. Its face was black. She couldn't see many more details other than that. It ran into the woods and disappeared. She said that her friend and her actually went down to those woods. She had 2 people with her 2 days later to take a look, and they couldn't find anything. There was no footprints. The grass wasn't, it wasn't soft enough to leave any prints. But she said that they went down to the patch of woods. They looked everywhere. They did find some tree structures, but there was no signs of Sasquatch. Maybe it had moved on. Chances are it was probably just passing through the area. But she said that it was an incredible experience, very scary, but also life-changing because it made her a believer. Before that, she just thought it was a myth. So welcome to the club. They're there. They're real. Thank you for the story. Let's see what else we got here. We got John. He's right out of Toronto, Canada, not far from where I live, just about 20 miles. And he said that he was driving home on the 401 one day. It was about 7:30 in the afternoon. Said it was 2 summers ago, and he looked up in the sky at the sunset, and he saw a black craft that looked like a triangle, a big black triangle, and it was just hovering in the sky. And then as he drove, he kind of just kept his eye on it. It didn't move, and then when he got past it a little ways, and he tried to pull over a little bit to look at it, but it just floated off into the sky, like it went straight up and disappeared. He said it didn't move like in a flash of light or anything. It just floated very gracefully straight up into the sky and disappeared. He said he hadn't seen anything other than that, and it was just that one time. Made him a believer. Welcome to the club, my friend. Yes, there are many people seeing these triangles. I've seen the triangle myself. I've seen a few from a distance, but I had one fly. I told this story in my first episode, I believe, but I had one fly right over my head. I mean, not even 300 feet. I mean, this thing was huge, completely black. It looked like it was projecting the back on the front, and you could see the sides of it were like where the light was being bent. It turned blue. It was like a light blue all the way around it. Very, very intense experience. I was freaking out. I was like slapping myself in the face saying, UFO, UFO. I'm guessing it's probably a government craft or drone. Maybe it's an alien. I don't know. But they're out there, people. You'll see them. Just keep your eyes in the sky. Take those eyes off the iPhone. I mean, that's a little bit of a clue. iPhone. Put your eyes on the sky. And I promise you, people, you'll see things. You just have to be patient and look. They're there. You'll see them. We got Jimmy in Arkansas who had an experience similar to mine. He said that him and 2 of his friends had a tow camper, and they were out in a park down by Beaver Lake, and they were camping. They had a fire. They ate some hot dogs, drank some beers. Were joking around. He said they went to bed about 1:30, and everybody piled in. And none of them. He said none of them were wasted, but they all had been drinking, and they were laying there and they were trying to get some sleep. They were wore out, and something came up and shook the camper, like boom. So they automatically all sat up and kind of froze, like that fear freeze. And they said they were all looking at each other, didn't say anything, and they hit it again, bang! And then they heard something out about it. It sounded like it was a pretty good distance away, going whoop 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 whoop. So they knew what it was right away. They were like, okay, there's some kind of Sasquatch or some kind of creature out there. That's not a bear. And none of them would get out of their trailer. They said they were too frightened. They just kind of all sat there real quiet. And one of them had a big knife, and he was holding the knife. Not that it probably would have done any good, but it sounded like there was, he said it sounded like 2 or 3 of them, because they could hear rustling in the bushes, like there was something else walking around, plus the one shaking the camper. And then it went on, the sounds went on for about 25 minutes, he said. The camper was only shook, he said, about 2 times. And then they all left, and none of them got any sleep that night, and they all left at about 6:30 in the morning when the sun came up. They packed up their camper and left. They wanted nothing to do with whatever that was, and I don't blame you. Like I said, I had the same experience in one of my campers in Georgia, and it's pure fear. When something comes up and shakes your camper, it is fear. Like, what does that, Bears don't come up and make noises and shake your camper and stuff. If they do, they'll rummage through your stuff, and they might push on things or bang on stuff, but it's a different experience. People right now, if you don't believe in cryptids, go spend some time in the woods right now. You don't even have to go far. Go to the edge of your town, find a patch of woods, throw a tent down, and I guarantee you that you'll see something. These things are everywhere right now. I am absolutely convinced that these things are coming back with like a slam bam, thank you ma'am. They're here, and I believe there's multiple different types of cryptids. I'm wondering if it's not something to do with the chemtrails. With them spraying those chemtrails, I wonder if that's changing our atmosphere, or if it's the sun changing, or if there's something changing in our sky or the air that is allowing these things to spend more time out, or change the frequency enough for them to be here. I wonder if the Earth's frequency is changing, and as it changes, it allows more creatures to kind of break into our reality, maybe from a different dimension, or just, maybe that's the way life works. It just brings in things as the frequency changes. I don't know, but maybe they're just coming out from underground now. Maybe it's the end times, it's like the Bible. Who knows, right? That's why we're here to learn and to find out. But the fact is, it's true. I mean, any way you look at it, that's what's happening. So the fun part is trying to figure it out. The scary part is that we have to deal with these things. So anyway, entertainment. What else have we got here? Michael from West Virginia. He said that he saw what looked like a gray alien, but on all fours moving like a spider. And he said it was probably about 3.5 feet in length. It was solid white from what it looked like. And it was just crawling through the woods where he lived. He was looking out his backyard. He was in a screened-in porch, and he could see it at the end of his woods crawling around. He only saw one, and he said he kept hearing this strange whistling sound, like whew. So he said he watched it for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then it walked back in the woods. And he said he was not going to pursue it because he didn't know what it was. He didn't want to get hurt, or if there was more of them back there. He said he looked online, and he said that he saw pictures of the rake. He said it from what he's heard of this thing, it moved and looked like that, but it moved and acted like that, but it looked like a gray alien. Like, clearly it was like a gray alien, like a white one. It wasn't one of these rake creatures, which people do see. Anyway, that is absolutely terrifying. I've heard the same story up here. I've heard another one called the Dover Demon that's similar to that. I wonder if these gray alien creatures, or at least a type of them, aren't like cave dwellers from underground. You can see videos on YouTube of people who are in caves, and they see creatures similar to that, climbing around or on the walls or peeking around. I think that there's creatures like that underground. They have big black eyes because they don't have any light down there. I'm convinced that these underground caves and holes, that there's caverns, and I believe that there's lots of creatures down there that we've never seen and we believe are cryptids. Anyway, cool story, which leads us into another one that I thought was really interesting and similar to this one. We got Everett also from West Virginia, but he lives in the southern part of West Virginia. He said that he saw on his farm, he was right by the mountains, kind of like the foothills. He said that he saw 7 orange lights up in the sky moving around, like it may have been lights of a craft or a group of like plasma beings, some kind of light beings. He said they're like maybe angels of some kind, just kind of moving around, like kind of in a circle, dancing up in the sky. And he was hearing these loud sounds, like they were like coming out of the woods. So we had these lights, we have this sound, and he said he watched it for about 45 minutes as the lights kind of danced. They said they'd blink out for a bit, then pop back up somewhere else. They were like going in and out. He said he couldn't tell if they were individual lights moving around dancing, or if it was one craft that was turning lights off as it moved, because they all did move together, but the angle he was at, it made them all look kind of like two-dimensional, because he couldn't see from where he wasn't underneath them, so he's not sure exactly what he was looking at, but he knew it was paranormal for sure. I've actually seen a video one time of a guy who had a similar experience to that. Very scary, very, very interesting also. My own father, actually, one night, it was like 4th of July 4 years ago. We were up at a condo, and we were sitting outside, and we saw one big orange ball of light come from the north, heading south. And we do live near an airport, so we see a lot of planes and stuff. We know what we're looking for. But this thing was huge, big orange ball. And it went all the way down towards Lake Ontario and just kind of disappeared into the sky. It just kind of, we don't know if it just evaporated or if we lost sight of it. And about 10 minutes later, a huge red ball followed the same path, almost exactly. and did the exact same thing. And that made my father a believer because he was like, what the hell is that? Definitely not fireworks, definitely not an airplane. These red balls, these orange balls, these balls of light are being seen everywhere right now down where I live. Southern Ontario towards Toronto, the lake area, down by Niagara Falls. There's lights being seen consistently. Probably at least once a week people are seeing a ball of light. I'd like to get some of these people on here to tell you about it. I mean, it's not really that exciting of a story, but it's proof. I mean, this is what's happening. But we need some good camera footage. We need people to start filming this stuff. I know that it's never going to be legit. People are always going to say it's fake. But it doesn't matter. It's still entertaining to watch. It still opens your mind. That's the important thing. And it's good to see this stuff because people who do believe get to actually see it. So we need to take our community needs to take back its pride. Who cares if people don't believe you? If you filmed it and you say it's true and you know in your heart it's true, let's see it. I want to see it. I know everybody else does. Who cares what people think? You know, half of them might say it's fake. Who cares? If we think it's true and you know it's true in your heart, then we'll take your word for it, you know? Either way, it's entertainment, people. Don't lose your mind. Just check it out. Make your own decisions. Open your mind. Entertain every idea. Keep what seems reasonable or what you think is real, and let the rest go. You know? Just entertain the idea. Give it a shot. You know, critical think. That's the problem our world has right now. We have no critical thinking skills. Everybody just wants to be told what's real and told what to do and believe it and then argue about it because that's what they've been told. Nobody looks, nobody checks, nobody researches. Don't ever believe anything I say. Hear what I say and then research it yourself and make your own decision. Now, chances are you'll agree with me because I don't usually say something unless it's true or to the best of my knowledge is true. But, you know, you're capable of learning. You can do it. Anyway, there's my rant. Let's go on with, we got Big Johnson. Okay, obviously that's a stage name. Big Johnson, let's see what you have to say here. He said there's a patch of woods by his house. And he said that he heard babies crying in the woods. And him and his father grabbed guns, ran down by the woods to look, and saw what looked like shadow figures dancing, or not dancing, I just say that as a reference, but like walking back and forth at the forest line. They couldn't see who they were, what they were. They looked to be about 6 feet tall, and they were calling out to him. They had no response. They just saw the shadow figures moving in and out, and then they heard the babies crying again, and it seemed like they were trying to be lured into the woods, and they caught on to that, and they scared them like primal scare. So they said they backed off, went back to the house, sat on the couch with their guns, and watched the woods with binoculars. And they said the creature stayed there for about another hour. The screaming got louder and then faded away and stopped. And then when the sunlight came up, they disappeared. They were gone. And they went out there in the daytime and looked. They found nothing. They said it was absolutely terrifying. They have no idea what it was. And I have a here. He wrote back again. He said this happened again 2 weeks later. Same situation. He said this time it sounded like they were calling to him. What is it? I don't know exactly how to say this. It says he said they were saying hello, hello, and it sounded like a little girl. That is freaking nuts. No way am I going at 3:30 in the morning into a patch of woods because I hear a little girl screaming. That's just, you know what? I don't know how you got yourself in that situation, but I don't want to be involved. I'm just kidding. I just know that wouldn't be a little girl in the woods. I'd be like, hey, come out. I'll come get you. But if they don't come out, I'm not going in. Bad news. That is absolutely terrifying. Keep me posted if it happens again. Get an audio recorder or like a video and get this and send it to me. I'm totally into that kind of weird stuff, man. Excellent story. Now we got Stacy out of Connecticut. Here's a good one. She said that she was on vacation up in Maine, and she said what she said looked like a giant sloth up in the woods, like it was sitting by a tree. She thought it was a grizzly bear, but then she's like, there's no grizzlies in this part of the country. But then she noticed the shape of the body and the face, and then it had these huge sloth claws. She said it was probably about 8 feet tall. It was sitting on its butt like Winnie the Pooh, kind of. And it was just like eating something. Like it was just sitting there munching down. It paid no attention to her. She said she sat there and watched it for about a minute and a half from a distance. And then when it looked at her, turned around and looked at her, she started backing out and left, but the creature didn't move. It just turned back and started eating again. Like it didn't care if she was there. She told her family about it. They didn't believe her. So her and her dad went back down, and it was gone. They did find a huge patch of grass that was flattened out and some scraping on a tree. But her dad said that could have been a cougar or whatever. But yeah, I believe you. I mean, I've heard this stories before. Actually, I heard one on, if you listen to, what is that show called? Expanded Perspectives. Those guys have some pretty interesting stories about these giant sloths. They have seen them in California or whatever. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. But yeah, check out Expanded Perspectives. They've got a excellent podcast. And they've got some great episodes similar to this where they talk about these cryptids and such. But they've got some really, really good stories. I'd like to get some like that too. People keep sending them to me. This is good. This is great, people. You guys have got some great stories here. I love it. I do appreciate it. You guys are what make Rebel Angel Radio. There's going to be other topics and stuff we're going to do. This is just the beginning. We're just getting into this. We're warming up. We're telling some campfire stories, and we're going to have some serious subjects and things like that we do also, and we're going to do interviews. But right now, while we get our name out there and get people writing in and doing interviews, we're gonna take it slow and have a good time. So we'll do a couple more and we'll wrap it up, guys. Let's see here. Jamie out of North Dakota, she said she had a Sasquatch experience. Her family was eating dinner. They were like in a camper, like a big one of those ones you drive. What do they call them? RVs. And they were all sitting there in their RV by a little window, and they were looking out into a wooded area, and they said they saw a large brown creature, probably about 8 feet tall, with a smaller creature, probably about 6.5 feet tall, following it. And they were just walking through the woods. They came out right to the edge of the wood line. Paid no attention to them. They just kept walking by and went through. They said that they were beautiful creatures. They looked well groomed. Their hair was nice. One of them said one of them looked like it had Bon Jovi hair from the 80s. I've heard this kind of stuff before. But yeah, she said it was her family just sat there with their jaws open and watched them walk by, and that was the end of it. Never saw anything, never had any problems. Just one of the best experiences you can have when you see them and don't have any issues. Excellent story, guys. Thank you very much. I'm glad your family got to experience that and get to see the truth that they're real. And didn't have any horrible experiences like some people. The truth that they're real, and didn't have any horrible experiences like some people do. We got Thomas out of Tennessee. Said he lives in Nashville, but he was south of Nashville hunting. And while they were hunting, they saw some lights in the sky. It was dusk. They said it was about 6 or 7 white lights that were sitting just above the tree line in a circle pattern. They were kind of like dimming and then brightening, like pulsing. And they could hear and feel a pulsing sound like That's my best impression of it. Probably sucks. But anyway, they felt the pulse. They saw the lights. They were panicked a little bit. They watched them for a while, and then the lights disappeared. They just were gone. They said that it went from light to dark real quick. They don't remember seeing the lights leave. They're concerned that maybe they had some sort of abduction or time loss. Something happened and they don't remember like an hour and a half. That's scary. I'm glad you're both back. But what I'm wondering is, are these creatures like stopping time to do something? Or are these crafts, bending dimensions a little bit, and something's changing? Our frequencies are changing, or speeding up. I'm thinking more sometimes these things might not be abductions so much as they're just some kind of frequency change or dimensional rip. and it's hard to explain right now. I don't want to spend an hour and a half into time travel ethics and stuff, but as Seth MacFarlane says from the Orville, I'd rather chew broken glass. But very cool story. I'm glad you guys are okay. I hope nothing happened to you. Check your bodies for any scoop marks, like the scoop mark scars, any line scars, anything that might feel like there's something under your skin. And any difference you see on your body, take a look at it. If you do, go to the doctor, have it x-rayed. This does happen to people. They do get chipped. Usually it's some kind of piece of plastic or like rock that has no value to us, but to them has some kind of powers and some kind of frequency it emits, the tracking device of some sort, or I'm not sure. I'm fairly concerned about the amount of people that are being like messed with right now by these creatures. I heard that they don't do abductions anymore. They just come in your room and mess with you. And I think that might be true. I think that some of these creatures do different things for different reasons. I don't think it's all one species. I believe that there's numbers of species that do this for whatever reason it might be. I don't know, guys. I don't want to get into this subject now. I want to give you a couple more stories, and we're gonna wrap it up. I'm getting tired. I don't want to get all sleepy on you here. So we got. Here's a fascinating story I got. A guy named Larry. He was from Missouri. Said he was traveling through North Louisiana, heading down to New Orleans with his uncle. They were driving down the highway, and they saw what he claimed looked like a serial killer hobo. He said it was probably like a 48-year-old white man with a sack over his shoulder, hitchhiking. And he said they did not stop for him. They wouldn't pick up hitchhikers anyway. But they did mention saying, hey, I wish we could pick that guy up. It sucks. It's a long road. But, it's too dangerous. So they pass the man. He throws his thumb out. And they're discussing it. And they drive about 3 miles down the road. And they see the exact same man again on the side of the road. It was like the same guy. 3 miles away from where they just saw the guy. And they said they just lost their mind. They were like, that can't happen. And they sped up and didn't stop until they hit a gas station. And they took a breather there. Said something to the person at the gas station and said that they have seen this person before and that you're not supposed to pick him up. The cops have actually warned about this guy. How they would even know who this is and why he'd be in two places at once makes me think there's more to the story. But that is so cool. What a weird situation that would have been. Too bad you didn't have a dash cam. You didn't catch that. That's weird. Anyway, guys, send me more material. You guys give me more stories. I'll give you 2-hour shows. I have to do, hour here, hour there, because I don't have enough stories. I'll use them all up in 3 episodes, so I have to kind of split them up a little bit. So send me more, guys. I'll bring you some different material, and we'll talk about some other things coming up. I'm going to do another show tomorrow. I want to put out 3 or 4 in the next week. I want to catch up a little bit and get about 10 more episodes in by next month. So I want to give you guys some content, some stuff to listen to. Other stuff than just listener stories, but I think these are fun to hear. So guys, you have a great night, and if you have a story you want to share or you want to be on the show, just rebelangelradio@gmail.com, rebelangelradio@gmail.com. Write me. We'll talk a little bit. We'll go from there. You guys have a wonderful night, and I'll see you tomorrow probably. Have a great night. Love you guys.
Some people ask me whose side I'm on. Let no one know until you're gone. I if you can feel me, you're feeling strong. You're feeling strong. And when they ask me, oh, why don't you see it? I feel that if I knew that I spent every night with you, I'd follow blindly. With you to guide me. Ooh, 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 Thank you for listening to Rebel Angel Radio. We'll be trying to put out as many of these casts as we can. I need more people to come in and send me their messages. I need messages about these encounters you're having, guys. I need all the encounters. Rake, Dogman, Bigfoot, I don't care what it is. The aliens. I want to hear it. How terrifying it was. I want to know all the details. I'll put it on the air. You can be on the air. Or we can just talk. I don't care. I'm just fascinated by this stuff. Anyway, guys, holler at me. RebelAngelRadio at gmail.com. RebelAngelRadio@gmail.com. And, hopefully I'll see you. We'll talk soon. Alright, this is Peter Silver, Rebel Angel Radio. Truth is pain. It's gonna hurt a lot. Love you guys. Have a great week.